Wednesday, friends. I cannot believe a week has gone past already. Today I am talking about fear, why we have it, where it comes from, and also just a few strategies and techniques that we can use to help deal with fear, because essentially if you are human and providing you're not a complete raving psycho, you are gonna be feeling fear, because we all do. And you read some articles of people who say just be fearless, and actually that's a complete impossibility, because fear is a deep-seated human survival technique which is designed to help us incredibly. So for instance, if you're stood on the edge of a cliff, you're going to feel afraid, probably, unless you're a cliff jumper. But if that cliff, at the edge of the cliff, was like a raging volcano, you're going to feel some fear. And that's because your body, your amygdala, which is like two little almonds, shaped almonds, which is right at the back of the brain stem, is making you think, oh, I hadn't better get too close to the edge because I might fall off. And it's designed to keep you safe. The problem is that we end up feeling fear for a lot of other activities in our life, which hold us back from growth and opportunities and experiences, just to learn things that we might prevent ourselves from doing because we're afraid of it. So you will see, and this is so strange, you look at, I look at successful business individuals, and until I became a psychotherapist, and before I started doing quite a bit of reading on the subject, I used to think, well, I just assumed they somehow got there. They'd had a leg up, or their parents knew somebody who was connected, and hence they'd been successful. And in actual fact, they've all gone through exactly the same fear that holds us back too. The only difference between them and somebody who is allowing fear to hold you or us back is that they've learnt to play with it, learnt to walk with it. I define fear as pretty much sitting on my shoulder and walking with it. It's always going to be in my life, because fear is designed to keep us safe. However, we need to work out a way that we can navigate our life and realize when fear is holding us back, and stepping beyond that. And I've got a few techniques and strategies to share with you today on that one. So, for instance, the amygdala, that is our reptilian brain. So that is the thing that makes us work instinctively. So for instance, if you're walking outside and a wasp flies towards you, you're going to duck to miss it without even thinking about it. You've not thought, oh, there's a wasp and it's moving towards me very fast, and it might well sting me if it hits me, or it might just land in my eye and make my eye really sore. It's just a split second. It's faster than a split second instinctive reaction, and that is driven by your amygdala. There is no logic that's gone into it, and it's that reptilian brain, that amygdala, which is causing us the problem. So I don't know if you guys have any strategies that help you overcome fear. If you do have strategies, please share them, because it's really interesting. I think different people have different strategies that work for them. I'm going to share with you the ones that work for me best, and the ones that I share with my clients as well. For instance, a story from last summer, I was bouldering. I love bouldering, but I hate heights. So I love rock climbing. Thank you for the hearts. And if you don't know what bouldering is, it's basically climbing on big rocks without any harness or anything. So you I tend to choose fairly safe rocks, purely because I don't like heights and I don't want to fall off and break my bones. But I do bouldering because I find it really challenging and it really pushes me. Same with canyoning. I don't like heights, but it makes me jump off tall cliffs into the water below. And I've got the safety gear on. Really, there's nothing that can go wrong. But my amygdala, when I'm trying to do it, is saying, no, don't jump off that cliff. And the only way I can make myself do it is to literally decide I'm going to do it, get to the edge and jump. If I stand there and I'm thinking, it looks quite deep down there, and what if something gets in the way, or what if I catch something as I'm going down and I hurt myself, and all these what ifs appear, And eventually I might not end up jumping off the edge of the cliff because I'm too afraid. Same goes with bouldering. So last year I was bouldering, there was a rock I really wanted to climb up. My son had already climbed up, one of his friends had climbed up it, and I really wanted to get up there with him. I knew I was physically capable of doing it. I got near the top and I could feel my knees going weak, and you're just like, come on, you know, it would have been a lot more dangerous to have gone down backwards. It was too high for me to safely jump into the water with no protective gear on. I was only wearing a bikini, and I didn't want to jump from that height into the water because the sea was quite rough as well. So really the only option open to me was to continue to climb. And in my mind, I had to pretend I was climbing on the floor, and that this little rock that I had probably another 10 feet to climb was on the floor, and that I wasn't already several, however many feet up I was, 20, 30, 40, 50 feet up. I was quite a high rock, and it's the only way I could get myself up to the top. And it was a real, I could really feel the fear, and I knew also that if I allowed that fear to take over, I would be seriously putting myself at risk. So I did it, and I was really relieved when I reached the top, and I'll probably never do it again. No, I will. But you know, if I'd let fear paralyze me, it could have ended up with me injuring myself, because I might have tried something else that actually was not the best idea. The best thing for me to do is to continue upwards. I knew I was physically capable of it. It was my brain, it was my amygdala, my reptilian brain telling me not to do it and be afraid. It's like the same thing, like if we watch a scary film, I love the dark. I love being in a black house at night time. I'm quite happy to wander around. It doesn't matter, it can be pitch black. Doesn't bother me at all. I also really like scary films, but if I've watched a really scary film, particularly if I'm in the house by myself and I turn the lights off and then I've got to walk upstairs to get to my bedroom, and my senses are on high alert, because there might be that funny thing, that ghoulie, that ghost, or that axe-wielding murderer that's lurking behind the door or the curtain or under the bed, and my senses are alerted to it. And that's our amygdala working. You know logically that just because you've watched a scary film that something's not going to jump out of the shadows at you, but you feel anxious, and that's your amygdala. So, you know, in normal circumstances, if you see a bus hurtling towards you, your amygdala is going to get you out of the way fast, and it's going to save you. If the house is on fire, you know, amygdala is going to make you react fast in order to protect you. But that is an instinctive reaction, and nowadays our lives are so different. You know, the way we live our lives, we're not trying to, you know, we're not surviving anymore. We have a choice of foods, we have a choice of living styles, we have a choice of jobs, just so many. We're bombarded with so many opportunities and choices, and sometimes that in itself can be paralyzing, because it's just like, well, if I choose that option, what happens then if I don't take that option? But if I take that option, what happens with if I didn't choose that one? You know, and it becomes, you can just be completely overwhelmed with choices and the various decisions that we need to make. And again, then the amygdala will make you just shut down, and you probably won't choose anything. You'll just stay stuck in your comfort zone. And it's being aware of that of how the amygdala can keep us stuck, because it wants us to stay comfortable. If there's the choice of you getting into a situation which makes you feel uncomfortable, maybe speaking in public, that's one of the biggest fears out there. Maybe, you know, going back to the classroom when you're a child at school and the teacher said, right, you know, what's the answer to that question? And it's just like, oh my God, I've got to stand up and I've got to talk in front of the class. What if I get the answer wrong? What if the teacher thinks I've not done my work? What if I make a fool of myself? What if I go red? What if? And that fear, our amygdala wants us to stay safe. So it really doesn't want to have to stand up and answer that question. But when you have stood up and answered that question, whether you got it right or wrong, it's going to be slightly easier the next time you do it. And it's a matter of taking those opportunities when you're feeling slightly fearful, not incredibly fearful. I'm not saying if you hate heights, go and stand on the edge of a cliff and jump off it into the water. But do things that slightly challenge you, because learning to manage your fear is a skill, and everybody can get better at it. It's like lifting weights. If you keep lifting weights, your muscles are going to get bigger, and it's the same with fear. The more you the more you practice getting slightly out of your comfort zone, the easier it will be to continue to get out of your comfort zone. And that's the only way you're going to grow. It's the only way we can really progress, is to get out of our comfort zones. And it seems to be the older that we get, the more we want to stay in our comfort zones. Those challenges, they really make us feel uncomfortable. And so it's just a matter of being aware of that. If you're aware of what your amygdala's trying to make you do, and you understand that actually, yes, you are feeling fear because you're human, but then acknowledging you've got that fear and working out, what is that fear? Is it a fear of, are you afraid of getting the answer wrong? Are you afraid of feeling stupid in front of other people? Are you afraid that you might not succeed? Or are you afraid of succeeding and then having to change your life because the thing you wanted to try has meant that new opportunities have arisen? So that when you have that awareness, it just gives you the tools then to think, right, I'm feeling this, now what am I going to do? And there's something that I would suggest you do is, when you have a fear, write it out or list it out. What is the worst thing that can happen if you do this thing that is making you afraid? So really, dig down 10-20 minutes. What are the worst things that could happen? And often when you break it down, they're not that bad. I suppose, for instance, for me, jumping off the edge of a cliff into the water, I don't know, if I fell wrong, could I kill myself? I mean, that's pretty severe, but that's probably the worst case scenario. I'm not likely to jump into the water. Some people might be afraid of getting stuck in a funny cave that nobody knows exists. And, you do hear these random stories of an undertow. Yeah, that would be terrifying, but it's highly unlikely it's going to happen. So work out, what is the worst thing that could possibly happen? And then on the next sheet of paper, you need to then consider those options. Consider what, how could you work through it? So if, for instance, you decide you talk in public, maybe you've always wanted to be a speaker and you give it a go, you've joined Toastmasters or whatever it is, you're talking in front of your local club, and you've been brave enough to say, yes, I'm going to do this, because it gives you a chance for growth. And then how could you work through that fear of possibly talking to a group of people? Well, you could prepare really well. You could make notes. You could revise. You could say the same speech in front of your family or your friends, so you've practiced it. You might even have a prompt that you put in the room somewhere, or you might even have like one of those teleprompts that people use that can just literally give you the bullet points that you want to cover. You could meditate before you go on stage, just to calm your nerves and do some deep breathing exercises. There are so many things that, if you explore the things that could then help you support that thing that you're afraid of, again, it makes that thing that you're afraid of much more doable and much more accessible. And then most importantly, what are the experiences that you're missing out on if you allow fear to keep you stuck? Last year, I think it was, or the year before, somebody asked me if I wanted to host a radio show. And I used to be chronically shy at school. I mean, to be even doing this, when I'm prepping my notes, when I'm prepping what I want to cover and discuss in my Wellness Wednesdays, I'm a lot bolder then than I am whenever I press play. It's just like, okay, press play. And then I can see it's going live, and then I have to start. And I'm always really relieved when I finish, because I'm feeling that fear. I don't want to come across as some idiot, some rambling, bumbling idiot. I want to give you information that's going to be helpful, and I don't want people to write horrible things that say, oh, she's useless, she knows nothing. That is my fear. That what if I forget what I want to say? And so those things go through my mind as well, and they're still probably going through the back of my mind right now. But if I allowed those fears to take over, rather than addressing them and being aware of them, I would never do this. And it's something I really, really enjoy. It's something that I know helps a lot of people, because I get a lot of feedback afterwards, so for which I'm eternally grateful, you guys. But I still feel that fear, but I do it anyway. if the worst happened, if I completely forgot what I wanted to say, if people thought, oh God, she's just a bumbling idiot, she hasn't got a clue about what she's talking, I can challenge that because I know I've got qualifications, I'm a psychotherapist, I have great success with my clients, blah, 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 blah. So I could then decide, well, maybe somebody's just being mean because there are trolls out there and trolls just like to be negative to people. Or I could think, well, maybe I did mess up a bit. Maybe I rambled. I do ramble, I know, I apologise. But, maybe I just lost my train of thought. So, well, let's learn from that. I can prepare better next time. But these experiences allow us to grow. And, if I hadn't done that radio show, I wouldn't have had the courage probably to do these IGTVs. The first time I went live on air, it was terrifying. It was live. It was, it was a whole hour. And I had a studio, so I had to, understand what the various buttons did. And also I had people that would call in to the shows. And that was a huge growing experience. But it's something I'm really pleased that I did. So I would just really encourage you to just be aware of what it is that you're afraid of, and then also weigh up what you might miss out on if you don't do it. Because that lack of experience, that lack of opportunity could just keep holding you back. And that just seems such a waste. Allow yourself to progress and to develop just by nudging out of your comfort zone. The other way you can do it is to do things that I mention often. So mindfulness practice, sit and meditate, do yoga, do some deep breathing. Reflect on what it is that's bothering you, but know that you're grounded. Focus on how your body is. So when you're feeling that fear, just ground yourself in the present. So don't worry about the future and the what ifs. Don't worry about the past and what might have gone wrong in the past. Just feel your body as it is. How are you feeling within your body? And just become so aware of the present moment. And you will find that will also help you it'll help sort of put your brain in a more receptive spot for dealing with the what ifs. And I think you'll find it will tip that balance between, no, I'm not going to do it, and actually I could do it. And even if it goes wrong, I can correct it and try it this way next time. Because every time we fail, it's not failure, it's just feedback. It's a way of learning how to do something differently next time round. And again, I think that is something else that holds us back. We see failure, or the fear of failure. The fear of failure holds us back because if we fail, then, oh my God, we're worth absolutely nothing. We've become completely valueless. And it's not like that. We all cock up, we all mess up. So just learn from it and maybe try and do it another way in a different manner next time, but use it as feedback. So I just really hope that helps. I think fear is just one of those things that we have to learn to live alongside of. It's always going to be part of our life. It serves a really, really useful, what's the word for it? It's a very useful behaviour. I can't think of the word for it right now. But, it's always going to be there. So are you always going to let it hold you back? Or are you going to decide to nudge that fear envelope bit by bit and allow yourself to grow and to develop, and possibly even find yourself shoulder to shoulder to those people that you might be admiring out there who you think, wow, I wish I could do that too. Because you can. Because they did. And if they did, so can you. Absolutely. Just nudge that fear envelope and grow into it, and then nudge it a bit further next time. So, right, I hope that's helped. Please feel free to leave me any comments or send me a private message if you want me to cover anything specific next time round. And I hope you have a fabulous rest of your week, and I will catch you soon.